Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Zach Messler. Zach and I are going to talk about what to say and how to say it to attract a buying audience. Now, there's something about Zach that I'm going to talk about in a moment, which Zach's got that nobody else has, as far as I'm aware. But Zach, before we do that, where can people get hold of you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's linkedin.com/in/Zach Messler, Z-A-C-H. You can find me at zachmessler.com, or you can email me at zach@zachmessler.com.
So in English, that's ZACHMESSLER.
Yes.
So Zach, I have a hashtag because it's Tim Talks, So Andy Foote, the LinkedIn guy, he's got footnotes, but you have a hashtag, which
I do.
Well, I mean, it's like
boom shakalaka,
which is absolutely. I mean, how did you come up with that?
So I didn't really come up with it at all. So it's something that we've been saying, my brothers and I would say when we were kids all the time, growing up in the late 80s and early 90s. We'd say boom shakalaka, and it was always a celebration, or it was like a confidence thing. We'd play street hockey all the time. You score this ridiculous goal, it was boom shakalaka. And so I spent 20 years in product marketing for tech in the corporate world. And, I had teams. And the last place where I worked, I had a team. It was all just young marketers. I think the oldest person on my team after me might have been 23 years old. Wow. And I said, I use 80s and 90s references all the time. And someone would do something great and it would be boom shakalaka. And so one of my people, one of my marketers, she dared me. She said, I dare you. I was writing a lot on LinkedIn at that time. And she said, I dare you to do a LinkedIn article about boom shakalaka. Okay. So I did. And then she said, I dare you to put boom shakalaka in your LinkedIn profile. So I did. This is just wise beyond her years marketer. And Kamna, I love you. You're awesome. And so from there, it just became something where the hashtag was just obvious to me. So I just started using it. Started using it mostly to track my own stuff, just to be able to go back and find everything. And then over time, I added an emoji signature to it. So I have that. I use it consistently and have for probably about 2.5 or 3 years. And it's the I guess not physical, it's still virtual manifestation of it, but it's the emoji for boom shakalaka. But that means excitement, it's celebration, it's confidence, it's boom shakalaka.
It's celebrating success.
For sure. For sure.
So, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I mean, when I saw your LinkedIn profile and I thought, what on earth is that? And that's a really great thing because it creates curiosity. So I started reading the rest of your profile and kind of you're here because of that. Also because you'd been interviewed by Andy Foote. But I was thinking, who's this person? Hashtag, interesting profile. Invite him on. So here we are. Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah. So you've been in product marketing for ages.
Yes, for sure.
And what you've been doing is always talking about and explaining to people about what to say and how to attract buying an audience. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah, for sure. That is what I do. In product marketing, it's kind of a misnomer. I mean, you could call it audience marketing even. Really, what you're doing is you're connecting the value of the product with the values of the audience and everything in between. So that's how do you take the value of the product, what it is, what it does, why it matters to any particular audience, stream it through sales channels, through marketing channels, so that you connect with this buyer. So this buyer is intrigued by what you have, they're attracted, and then they want to know more, they dive in, and then they want to buy it, and then they do. That's product marketing. It's a super high level explanation of it, but that's product marketing. You're a translator.
So how do we go about this? What's the first thing that we need to do?
Oh, sure. So there are 5 steps here. There are 5 steps to, I call it the buyer attraction formula. There are 5 steps. First is audience. You hear people say you have to understand your audience. Understanding your audience is like so 2003. I mean, it's not good enough to just understand your audience anymore. It's becoming your audience. And that means you have this amazing thing with social media where you can actually go and interact one-on-one or one-to-many, many-to-one with your audience. So become your audience. You go there, you learn how they talk, the nuances of the language. And when you interact with people, you become your audience over time. So audience. Of course, there's more to it than that, but it's focus on audience.
And that's like, but that's also nowadays, we need to understand it's not just about, it's not just necessarily about a persona. It's about how they think. So, what is it that inspires them? What is it that, how do they feel about current affairs?
For sure.
For example, if you went to market now with something that had lots of plastic in the packaging, you wouldn't sell it because everybody has a view that we have a view about sustainability. And that's actually part of our core values, not just about the fact that you've got a great product. Do you agree?
I do agree. I mean, personas, some people call them avatars. The thing to remember about personas is they're not real. They're based on real, but they're not real. And look, yes, you have lots of different individuals and no person is the same as the next and all that. But what a persona is, by definition, is an amalgamation, a collection of all of these different ideas from your target market. And it waters it down. It waters it down. And so it's not good enough anymore. People still use it, and that's fine. But I mean, we could go down this path too. This is it's a dirty secret.
I wrote my book about 2 personas, which is divorced with 2 children in their 70s, and one of them is Ozzy Osbourne, and one of them is Prince Charles. So they have the same persona, but they're completely different people, and you would market it to them in completely different ways.
Well, and because that's personas. Traditional personas marketers look at them largely in demographic ways instead of in psychographic ways. And 2.5 kids, drives a minivan, that doesn't really tell you anything. You could talk about their fears or their pains, but again, it's watered down because you're kind of making stuff up based on a lot of different people. I mean, it's part of it. We could get into talking about account-based marketing and that sort of thing, and that makes things a lot easier. But the dirty secret in marketing, at least it was in tech, was everybody talks personas and everybody talks audience and research, and nobody really does it. They do it once. They create these giant cardboard cutouts sometimes. Hey, it's Joe, or hey, it's Jane, and
Jane in marketing.
No, that's right. It's Mobile Max. It's just and then they don't do anything with it, and that's it. But audience research is something that you do continually over time, and now with, like I said, becoming your audience, there's no reason not to be doing audience research every day.
Yeah.
You don't have to call it research. If you call it research and it makes you go, ugh, then don't call it research, but interacting with your audience, on social, one-to-one, one-to-many is a great thing. That's how you master it. That's how you understand your audience. It's how you become your audience.
Okay.
And then you create stuff, and it's like you get that instant trust because people are like, oh yeah. It's not even people like, oh yeah. It's just you're saying things the way that your audience says things.
There's a person that I did some work with who that's what they did. They went onto social. They needed to find out what their audience did. They were actually selling mobile phones. they got a contract. I think it was with HTC, and HTC wanted them to sell mobile phones over social. So there was this profile. So they worked out who was. So they went onto social and seen who was posting about them, and then they looked at what they were tweeting about, and they realized that everybody that was tweeting about HTC's phones swore. They either had swear words in tweet somewhere down, or it was in the top. And so they realized that it was okay to swear. In fact, in their interaction, they had to go back to the brand and said, look, this is our research. But they went back and said, and actually when they found, they experimented, they A/B tested. Where they swore, they actually got connection. Where they didn't.
That's awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
And that's but what you're saying is, obviously I'm not saying you've got to swear in Twitter, but it's about understanding the audience, isn't it? And understanding what they're thinking.
Yeah, well, it's again, it's becoming the audience, it's interacting. If they didn't interact with their audience, they wouldn't have known that. Yeah. And it's also understanding too, I'm gonna swear now. I hope that's all right. Nobody gives a shit about your product. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your service. Nobody cares about your offering, about your awards, about all of that stuff. Who cares? They don't care until they do. And if you're starting out without looking at it from your audience's perspective, looking at everything, looking at the challenge that you address with your offering, looking at your offering, looking at how you present yourself or your company out to your audience, if you're not looking at it from the outside in, well, then you're not going to have as much success as you could.
So what's the next stage then, Zach?
So after audience is position. So positioning is how do you want to show up in the minds of your audience? And this is identifying those core values, the core values either of your company or even your brand or even of the offering itself. What are the core values? What does this thing stand for? It's since you know those things already for your audience, you've become your audience. You can identify then the core values of my audience, the core values of your offering, and this is where you start to this is where that connection starts. But first, we understand the audience and how they see themselves and how they act and all their fears and pains and loves and everything. And then we look at our offering and our brand, and we do the same sort of thing. We want to understand not so much the challenges we have, but what's the value that we deliver. And how doesn't matter right now. It's just what's the value? What are the big rocks? And that's position.
Right. And so what about offering?
So offering is where all of this stuff comes together. But first, offering is answering 3 questions. Yeah. So this is getting to the essence of your offering, of your product. Now, I'm a product marketer, so I say when I say product, oh, I get so excited. This is so fun. This stuff is so fun. So when I say product, I mean offering. So it doesn't matter what you're selling. It's a product. It's a service, even an idea. Like this stuff works with just getting an idea out to market or getting an idea to proliferate. This works. So offering is answering 3 questions. What is it? What does it do? And why does it matter? Why does it matter to my target audience? And it's understanding that I may have many target audiences. I may have target may be the wrong word, but I have many audiences that are going to look at this product or this thing. And so, for example, why it matters if I have a sales force, why it matters to my sales force is going to be remarkably different than why it matters to my buying audience. If I'm working with analysts, why it matters to the analyst is going to be, probably you have to talk more about why it matters to your audience, but why it matters to the analyst is going to be slightly different. Why it matters to the media is going to be slightly different. Why it matters to my company, forget just sales, just the entire company is going to be different. Now, the thing with this process, answering these 3 questions, is it's incredibly simple and it's not easy. It's literally, what is it? What is it? So when I this is what I like to do. So this is a coffee mug.
Yep.
Really? So really, what is it? If I don't know what a coffee mug is, what is it? It is a ceramic container with a handle. That's what it is. What does it do? It holds coffee. And then why does it matter? Well, why does it matter is going to be different for me than it is if I'm explaining it to you.
Yep.
But, for you, when you have guests come on your show and they're drinking coffee, it would be kind of bizarro and weird for you, and painful for them if they just took the pot and poured it in their mouth.
Yes.
And so you have this coffee mug.
Yeah. You're just having coffee. Hold on.
Put your pinky out, like.
And again,
So-
the person sits there and they've got coffee all down
all over the
all
place.
on their face.
And that would be why it would matter for them.
Yeah.
That would be why it matters for them. So, but it's to get this right. It is when you look at what it is and what it does, it is not getting into it. You have to lift it up. It has to be high level. It's not getting into how it works. It's not getting into the value that it delivers. It's not into any of that. It is, what is it? What does it do? Why does it matter is a lot different than those first two. Why does it matter is, why does it matter to my audience? And this is where that message really comes through. And there's a formula for this too, which is context, problem, solution. So there's a history here. And you think of, I think of advertising or even business school, but early on, years and years and years, a classic approach would be feature benefit, feature benefit, feature benefit. And then
I got told that when I first got into sales. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it changed. It changed, and it was, we can't talk about the features anymore. We have to talk about the benefits for our customers. Benefit feature, benefit driven by this feature, benefit driven by this feature. The problem with that is that if you're talking benefits, you're still talking about your product. It's not about your product. Nobody gives a shit about your product.
Yep.
And so it transformed. We evolved again. And it became problem solution, which is great. That's how you become market driven. You have a market problem. You have a solution that addresses this problem. That's great. We're going to sell the problem. The problem with that is that's not how people buy anymore. And if you sell the problem too much or you're overzealous that way, all of a sudden you're a fearmonger and everybody knows what you're doing. And so you need that context piece up front to make it work. I can't believe I just said you need. That's another trigger for me. Well, we can talk about that later or on another call. But it's having that context up front. Now, context and problem definitely intertwine. But if you've done that audience work and you've done that position work, you know the context for your audience and you know how to connect it back to your product. And that's why those steps have to happen first before defining that offering. But context could be something like, and words that I use all the time to transition this and get this right is perhaps, right? Perhaps you're, or maybe this sounds familiar. That's context. And the context would be the too. Though maybe this sounds familiar. You have an amazing offer, but people aren't buying. Or you have this amazing product and nobody's paying attention. Yeah. It's you're getting context right if you start getting email, if you're sending emails out to a subscriber base and you get people sending you emails back, oh my gosh, Tim, it's like you're in my head. Or, if you get that, it's like the virtual head nod. Yeah, that's what you're going for with context, but context, problem, solution. And when you get that right, all of this feeds in. You end up going with context, problem. And then it's become so easy then because you've done the work on what it is and what it does. So, meet my product. My product is what it is. What it does. So you can value. There you go. But it's getting to the essence. So offering is next.
Right.
Then after.
So you had a manager that used to basically give you used to ask a particular question whenever you used to talk about stuff, which and what the question was, but what's in the box?
Oh yeah. So early on in my career, so I was fortunate enough where I worked with one guy really for probably about a decade, and it was early on in my product marketing career, and I put something together that for a launch. It was my first launch I'd ever done, and it was mine. I wasn't just someone working on it. I was the one accountable for it. New product launch, and I put together a book, a guide I called the sales pack. And now I write them for companies, but I put together a sales pack, and the sales pack answered. It was meant to help the sales team, just get up to speed on this new solution that we had. And I did that work. It answered what is it, what does it do, why does it matter, and then value delivered for the product, but for every single feature within the product. And then we dove into audience and dove into all this stuff. I got there because this guy, I'm a creative guy. I love wackadoodle ideas. I love brainstorming. It's super fun. I love it. I thrive on it. What this guy did for me was he honed me in onto offer, because he'd say, Zach, this is awesome. It's so exciting. It's fun. What the heck does this have to do with what we're selling? He's like, dude, he probably didn't say dude, but dude, what's in the box? You got to know what's in the box before you can sell it. What's in the box? And so that got me focused in on what's in the box. And that's where that what is it, what does it do, why does it matter came from. Because I was a product marketer for complex tech, for enterprise technology. I'm not technical. I wasn't technical then. I'm not technical, and I'm probably less technical now than I was then. But I had to understand it. And so those questions were originally, I did that for me. It's how do you get to know something? How can I get to the essence of what this thing is and understand the value that it delivers? And so I did that for me. I asked those questions for me, and then it transformed into sales enablement, because it was like, wow, this is pretty awesome. So yeah, that's the story there.
So what's the next step?
So the next step is message. So this is now, it's much easier from here on out, I think, but this is now going back through all of that work and picking key messages. So that's it's mapping up value to what you've said and why it matters, and mapping it back to audience. So these are like the benefit statements. And you can map it out by market challenge statements. These are still key statements, right? Market challenge, benefits statements. So problem, solution statements, and then urgency statements. Why now? So it's thinking about 3 questions here too. And this maps across how people buy. So the buyer journey or the buying process. Why change messages? Yeah. Why us messages? Yeah. And why now messages? Yeah. And it's mapping this stuff out. And this is just quick hit stuff. Boom, boom, yeah. Boom, boom. But you can do that then for your audience, for the market problem, for all the little intricacies in all of these. You end up with all these messages. It's almost like doing a mind map where you have this subject, like market problem. People can't attract a buying audience. Okay, so what happens? What happens when people can't attract a buying audience? Well, they can't get attention. They don't have enough leads. They're frustrated because they know their product is great, but Nobody seems to see it. Like, these are all problem messages. And then it's writing all this down, and then it's honing them and getting them crisp. If you know what your audience sounds like, if you've been interacting with your audience, you do this mind map thing, and then you can hone it based on your audience. And then the same thing for, why us? So why us is focused inward. This is why my product, why my company, why me? And this is the benefits. This is the value proposition. This is the differentiators, all of these things. And then why now? Why now is the urgency piece. So this maps back to problem, but it also takes into context that solution. So why now? If people don't see urgency, and this as a sales pro, if people don't see urgency in the problem, or urgency, it has to be real. It can't be bullshit. But if they don't see urgency in the problem, or they don't see urgency in going down the path with the solution, then there's no reason to buy now. So you may convince me or move me. Convince is probably the wrong word. Frankly, we'll get into the 3 C's, but I used convince because it's a C word, and I have 2 other ones, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But if you can't, now I went off at a tangent. I lost my track.
Come back. Come back.
If you with why now, if you can't convince someone that the time is now, then there's no reason for them to buy. I'll just do it later. With how people are distracted so easily today, case in point, how people are distracted so easily today, if you don't answer that why now, then who knows? Yeah. So it's those, and that's message. It's coming up, and these are quick hit stuff.
And it's about, there's a burning platform or something, and
exactly.
You've got to get the action. I interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, and they actually used to work in politics before they moved into, in effect, marketing. And I said, so what's the connection? He said, well, in politics, you basically have to get somebody to believe you. But he said, what you have to do is get them to go out and vote. So there's a belief mind, and there's an action.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same with this. This is about you. It's great someone saying it's a great product, but you've got to get them to buy it.
That's right. That's right. It's absolutely right.
So visibility and your 3 C's.
Yeah, sure. So visibility is application of all this stuff. So it's execution. So visibility is, how am I going to amplify this message? So it's taking it and understanding that if I'm going to social media, for example, how I write on LinkedIn is going to be different than how I write on Instagram, is going to be different than how I write on Twitter, which is going to be different than Facebook. You pick the platform. It's understanding how people interact with content in those places. It's understanding, okay, I'm writing a blog. I'm putting a blog together, a whole series of blog posts. Okay, so how do I translate this stuff into a blog? How do I take my messages that are about me, about why us? How do I get that into a blog that's going to get people to read? How do I transform something that's all the why us messages, or even the why change why change or why now messages? How do I incorporate those into blog posts that people don't want to read the self-promoting drivel? They just don't. And so it's understanding how to take these messages and incorporate them into interesting stuff. This gets us to the 3 C's. There are 3 C's of effective business communications. No matter the type of content, there are 3 C's of effective business communications. And they are clear. So am I understood? Compelling. So am I grabbing attention and holding on to it?
Yeah.
And convincing. Am I moving my audience? Am I motivating my audience to take action? Clear, compelling, and convincing. And it's a Venn diagram to me. I mean, you can make a Venn diagram out of everything, but this is a Venn diagram, because if you are clear and compelling, but you're not convincing, then you're not selling anything. You might have tons of leads. You probably have lots of friends, and nobody's selling. No, you're not selling. Nobody's buying anything. If you are clear and convincing, but you're not compelling, you probably don't have a whole lot of leads. You're not grabbing the attention you need to sell more stuff. When somebody finds you, you're selling a lot, but you're missing out on a massive piece of your potential market share. And then if you're compelling and convincing, but you're not clear, which happens a lot in tech, you have a lot of pissed off customers, or maybe you have a lot of customer churn because people have bought, you've grabbed attention and you've sold them and they've bought, but what you've sold them is different than what they thought they were buying. Clear, compelling, convincing. 3 C's.
Fantastic. So any advice about how to use those?
Sure. So this all of this maps back to the work that you've done if you followed the buyer attraction formula. So clear is offer. If you know if you get to the essence of your offer, you know what it is, just tight. What is it? What does it do? And why does it matter to my buying audience or to any audience? That's the essence. If you get to that essence, you can look at it from any perspective. And the why it matters, once you really practice that, or I've been practicing doing some meditating and getting into it. And the guy always talks about it as the gym for your mind. This is kind of like the gym for your messaging. Once you practice it and flex that muscle, it becomes so easy to see the perspective from anywhere. I mean, one of the things that I have clients do sometimes is we'll move around. So, I'll talk to them like this, or but it's looking at things from every angle. And of course, you're not doing that literally, but when you get to the essence, you can do that. That's clear. Compelling.
There's one about what's a mattress, and the mattress is often people talk about mattress being about size or depth or whatever, and in fact, it's a good night's sleep.
Yeah, that's right. That's the feels. Well, and this is a thing too. This is what a lot of I've said this a lot, but what a lot of people have trouble doing is it's diving deeper into, it's the why, right? It's diving deeper into the why. It's like there's a method called the 5 whys. But in sales, you hear a lot, or you see people, at least on LinkedIn, a lot saying, "Oh, you don't sell the drill, you sell the hole." You don't sell the hole. You don't sell the hole at all. Nobody cares about the hole that they're drilling in their wall. What you're selling is, you're selling the confidence that I have that my 3-year-old who likes to climb furniture isn't going to climb up my furniture because he knows I hide Hershey bars behind the books up there. I'm confident that when he climbs up, that furniture is not going to fall on him. So I need the drill because I have to drill a hole so I can connect this thing to the wall. So I'm selling you that confidence. That's what I'm selling. I'm selling the feeling.
Zach, that's fantastic. We're at 33 minutes, so I'm going to need to draw a close. But you've been so fantastic, and I've learned so much. Let's go through those again in terms of your 5 steps. So it's know your audience, position. So that's about showing up, the offering, and that's about being context, problem, solution.
I'll walk you through again. I'll walk you through.
Message, why change? Why us? Why now? And then visibility, which is clear, compelling, convincing. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you have gotten that right. Yeah. So audience, become your audience. Yep. Become your audience. Position, know how you want to show up in their minds. Offer, connect those things. What is it? What does it do? Why does it matter? Context, problem, solution is that why does it matter? Message, this is all mapping to buyer journey now. So why change? Why us? Why now? And then visibility. How are you going to take all of this stuff that you've done, this work, and apply it in the real world? It's being clear, It's being compelling. It's being convincing. And you know what that is? You know what that all is, Tim?
What?
Boom shakalaka.
Fantastic. Zach, it's been wonderful talking to you, and it's been so insightful. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Remind
Tim, thank
people
you.
where they can get hold of you.
You can get me on LinkedIn, Zach Messler, ZachMessler.com, or Zach@ZachMessler.com.
So that's ZACMESSLER.
ZACH.
ZACHMESSLER. Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Zach, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for your
Tim.
time today, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I just love your hashtag. It's just awesome.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you so much for today, and I'll catch you online.
See ya.
Bye, Zach. Bye.